Welcome, everyone. I'm just going to really briefly introduce myself. And as noted, my name is Tim M. West. I use both he and they pronouns. Anything respectful usually works with me. And I am a Cincinnati native that was raised in Arkansas. I live in Atlanta, Georgia, moved back here for a third time as recently as May. And I wanted to be grounded in the work that I do as executive director of the LGBTQ Plus Institute. It's work I'm super passionate about. It's work I'd probably be doing it if I wasn't working here formally. And I get to work with an amazing board that's represented from around the country. I was on that board at the inception of the LGBTQ Institute in 2015, which followed the opening of the National Center for Civil Human Rights in 2014. And so we're embarking on our 10 years next year, which will be a great celebratory year. So I'll stop talking about that and myself and just really excited to turn space over and make and create space to celebrate that we're here and our resilience. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our co-hosts and moderators. Let me just see. Moot and Jennifer, take it.
Good evening.
Hello, everyone.
All right. So, briefly, I guess we'll give brief introductions. I was an 11-year native of Atlanta from Cincinnati, Ohio as well, originally. I was the first LGBTQ liaison for State Representative Park Cannon in 2018. And from that time, I helped contribute to a lot of trans-specific movements, more specifically PrEP access for all individuals, LGBTQIA individuals, especially Black and Brown, as we know that was such a hindrance during the latter years of the, shall we say, 2010s. And I've been a board member, I think, since December of 22, if I'm not mistaken. And I am super excited. I'm in New York now. I'm actually in school. So a couple of topics I may cover today during in between the session will be about kind of some of the ways that I've been able to help navigate those who are trans identified, getting the respect and deserved attention necessary here in the great state of New York. I'll pass it on to Umut. It's good to see you.
Thanks, Jennifer. It's good to see you also. So hello, everyone. My name is Umut. I use he, him pronouns. I currently serve as the executive director of Harbor Camps, which is a camp that serves transgender and non-binary youth. I'm proud to say that we're the first camp of our kind in this country or anywhere in the world, actually. We were founded back in 2009. So my day job, I get the honor of working with our community to make sure that our kids, whatever age they are, from 8-year-olds and up, to have a really great place to come and spend some time in community at an overnight camp. We also offer a place for families so that as kids are navigating this journey with their families, they have an opportunity to be in community with others. And for many of our youth, sometimes camp is the only place that they know other trans kids, and the same thing for our families. And it's really beautiful to see that. Having transitioned myself and kind of learning to navigate this, having come from a Muslim background where my family had absolutely no idea what this conversation was, to being an educator and working in a school system in Miami, Florida, where talking about gender was absolutely not okay. And that was over a decade ago now, but I've continued my work in the education field because I'm committed to making sure that our community feels seen and safe and heard wherever they are. So I'm honored to be here with you all tonight. I'm really excited to dive into the conversation, to honor those who have come before us, to honor those lives that have been lost to violence, and to also celebrate and acknowledge where we are moving forward as a community of folks who are here to continue to make waves and to not be silenced. So tonight, I hope that as a community, we can enjoy learning from one another. We have some amazing speakers that are going to share some of their experience, and there will be some time at the end for us to also process anything that we need to as a group. So really honored to be here, and thanks everyone for joining us tonight.
All right.
Thank you all. Yeah, go ahead, Jennifer.
So, what I was going to do was move forward into the moment of silence. And then after the moment of silence, I wanted to give a few facts about 2024 information that we found thus far. But if you could please all join in with me for a moment of silence for those who have lost. Thank you so much, Tim. As you saw, that was a part of a report from Transgender Europe. Again, with some of the other facts that go with that, this year marks the murders have crossed 5,000 since the beginning of their actual reporting of this in 2008. And with that, sex workers remain the most targeted group of all known occupations. However, the proportion of sex workers among victims, 46%, is at its lowest since our monitoring began, meaning there's a particular, shall we say, resistance against those who happen to be sex workers. And I think it's important to take time to recognize that this is a group that we've been trying to support behind the scenes, in front of the scenes, as many of the resistance you have seen. It does not seem to stop. 5,000 is a staggering number to happen, especially with us representing 1% or less of the general population. So at this time, we will move forward to our hopefully lifting of the spirits. Wouldn't you say, you move?
Yes, absolutely. So we know that tonight can be heavy on our hearts as we think about those that we've lost. And in that realm and in that spirit, we also want to celebrate and lift up our community. So we have some wonderful speakers who are going to share, some young people in particular. And I don't know if my order is correct, but do we have Ian or Lexi up first? Do you know, Jennifer?
I think Lexi up first. So
So we actually will have Ian. This is Tim and breaking in.
awesome.
Ian wasn't able to join, a college student at Fordham with you there in New York, and had
Awesome.
something come up. But Ian is Uh, oh, let me stop this video from playing. Uh, there we go. Ian decided to record a video reciting their poem, and then we will have Lexi um, followed by Shakir that will both be presenting as well. So I'm just going to play Ian's poem.
Awesome.
Hello everyone, I'm Ian Montero. I'm currently in an empty classroom and I'm so sorry I could not be in person with you guys, but I did still want to show you guys my poem because Timon kindly asked me to read it and I would love to share. So this is a poem I wrote in the summer, kind of centered around being a transgender youth and growing up, especially in South Florida, and all kind of the struggles that come along with that. So I hope you enjoy. This is my poem called Kids Like Me. Kids like me hold their own hands the way a dog sinks its teeth into its own tail. At once, the cut, the knife, the tongue. We often fall by our mother's hands, offering slices of ourselves. Kids like me get teeth smashed in bathrooms. We become unwilling martyrs. We are always to something. I know you see it. Just a glance and you'll see the value in our bodies trickling out like spit. Kids like me long to enjoy. We want to smooth our hands over skin without twitching or tears. We want to show our ribs without worrying that someone will rip the meat off the bone. We want a feeling like velvet. Kids like me seek something tangible, something with weight, something icy and round. We want the right words and the right love. We move in small sounds and pale colors. But every once in a while, when we're allowed and alive, we roll around in gold. Thank you.
Super powerful. I can hear the finger snaps maybe through the channels. I love that poem and I'm willing to share it with anybody that wants it. I got to hear Ian deliver that live at our symposium. And so next we will move on to Lexi, who I will spotlight. All righty.
This is a poem I wrote in response to a lot of political action that took place a few years ago, but I've recently revised it because I feel that there are definitely parts of modern politics, especially in these last couple of weeks, that are very relevant to what the message is. A modern woman. I have the gift of life, but I let it flow from my fingers and tongue instead of my womb, confused as of why religion is used to take away choice because I remember God asking Mary. She was worthy enough to birth and enough to choose. Why not anymore? A modern woman, tired of being told possibilities are people, but I am not worthy enough to birth, but not enough to choose. I'm the same age she was, but somehow not old enough to make up my mind anymore. Beautiful, fertile blood runs between my legs every month, red and holy, and I love it because I have the choice of life. I already see their protest when I tell them I don't want children. I have the gift of life and I let it flow through my fingers and tongue. I have the gift of life, but not the obligation. The government says otherwise. I will not let you make me ashamed because blood is beautiful, blood is life, yet you still call me a woman when I bleed. But what does that mean? Not all women bleed, and I am not a woman. The youngest person ever to give birth was Lena Medina. She was 5.5 years old. Was she a woman? I'm not 5, I'm 15, but I bleed. Am I a woman? Woman, you put me in this box so I can be labeled and placed away as an obligation. We're all in boxes, and these boxes have no holes. They're suffocating because human beings weren't meant to live in boxes. I bear your children, but never grow mine. Your hands skate across my body because I am an obligation. And the fact is, we live in a country where being a rapist is not enough of a deal breaker to hold you back from the presidency. where queer children are scapegoats and trans people are murdered. I'm not sorry for being angry because I know people who suffered under the overturn of Roe v. Wade. I'm not sorry for being angry because the next trans person in the news for being murdered could be my best friend. I'm not sorry for being angry, and neither should you. But to all the trans youth out there, to all the women, we need to take that anger and channel it into living, into joy, because nothing is more destructive to our oppression than our survival.
Disney snaps over here. Thank you so much, Lexi, for being with us and sharing such a vulnerable space. Next, we have Shakir Lee, you said?
Hey guys, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. I'm gonna just get into it because yeah, I'm a little nervous. Transitioning into a man is similar to doing the big chop. No, seriously. It's like being well overdue for a haircut. Don't believe me? All right, bet. Let's say I've been growing my hair out for about 20 years now. For the first 13, 14 years, I was okay with not getting my hair cut. A trim will suffice, but I didn't ponder much on having a shorter length or a different style. Then a couple years went by, and it started to pique my interest. I mean, I've always looked in the mirror and figured that I probably wasn't going to cut my hair, but I started to wonder how I'd look if I did. I tried different hairstyles at this point, yet nothing raised me up enough to make me want to never leave the bathroom because of how obsessed I am with my hair looking, how I'm looking. Then anxiety entered the chat. Unwelcome thoughts moved into a home that didn't have their names on paper, starting with the phrase of, what if? What if I do cut my hair? Will I regret cutting it? How will I feel? How will I look? What if I'm ugly? What will people say? What am I even talking about right now? Do other people's opinion even matter? Will they reap the consequences of my actions? What would my haircut have to do with them and their livelihood? What would my newfound comfortability make them uncomfortable for? I couldn't allow what others thought of me and my actions dictate how I live my life. I couldn't let my fears stop me from possibly becoming a better version of myself. So in the 20th year, I became. At first, no one noticed. Everyone was used to seeing my hair pinned up, so it didn't look any different. But as time passed, people came to realize that my hair was in fact cut, and it shocked the hell out of them. Some were surprised when I cut my hair. Others saw it coming before I did. While a few were still in denial because in their eyes, my hair was never cut. But I couldn't care less because those who were there for my journey were ecstatic for the destination. I was told I looked so much more comfortable in my skin, much happier and freer than before. And I never realized what they meant until I saw pictures and videos of my past self. I watched how I struggled to maneuver with such lengths, how awkward I looked with the many styles I tried because none of them fit who I really was. None of them were really me. And I look in the mirror now and I smile at my new haircut. I'm finally happy with who I see looking back at me because the experience is more than just a haircut. It's a symbol of my courage, a symbol of my acceptance. It's a symbol of my contentment with myself. It's the recognition of the identity I suppressed, but I always knew was there. It is the death of who I was and the resurrection into who I am. It is my rebirth. Thank you.
Awesome job. Awesome job. Thank you so much, Shakira.
Thanks, Shakira. I know that it can be intimidating to share your soul with others, and I really appreciate that. And I could relate to it in many ways, and I really appreciate just the vulnerability in which you shared that. I know as we move forward, Tim, I know we were going to share Zaria, who was unable to be here, but if we could share her website, wanted to just share a little bit about the work that she does as we transition into the next part of our evening. If we can get that up. Oh, it's in the chat. All right, great. So Tim
Yep,
put it. chat.
I just put it
Thank
in the
you.
chat, and Zaria right now is actually convening a program in Macon, Georgia. So Atlanta is not the only place that is doing this work and celebrating Trans Day of Remembrance. It's so important that people in our rural spaces, who are not in cities with lots of resources, have organizations like Zaria's No More organization to really celebrate and bring people together. So we just honor her, her inability to be here. We thought she might be able to just even join us and show that event live. But we certainly send our thoughts and our well wishes to her in that program in Macon tonight.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Timum. And Zaria is an award-winning transgender Black woman activist. The purpose of NOMO, if you haven't heard of that organization, is to empower trans women of color in their healing as they embrace who they are and their purpose in the world. I think it's a beautiful, beautiful mission and one that she's doing a great job leading. And again, since she couldn't be here tonight, we wanted to ensure that we shared a little bit about that and what she's up to.
Awesome. Next, we have Amor Rayan Keno. I am so excited to see the diversity that we've included this year for celebration. Please, Amor, you're the Miss Trans Georgia, correct?
Yes, I am.
Awesome. So please, speak to us about some of your excitement around today, some of the things that you have been able to accomplish since gaining that title in 2023, right?
Yes. Well, I am the reigning Miss Trans Georgia 2024. I actually obtained the title since last year. And since I have become since I actually just recently returned back from competing at nationals like about 2 weeks ago. Honestly, I would say that my reign has been filled with nothing but gratitude and has been filled with lots of networking. You know, even before I became Miss Trans Georgia, I was already doing the work. I help with various organizations. I work alongside and collaborate with, organizations such as the Out Georgia Business Alliance, which is formerly known as the Atlanta Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce. I founded my own nonprofit alongside fellow trans activists, Trans Power Collective, located here in Atlanta, Georgia. And just I've managed to do a lot, honestly, and I'm happy that with me only being 24 years old, I've managed to do so much, and I've managed to showcase what can be done when the work and dedication is there. And with my journey, I want to inspire. I want to be a transformational leader that showcases the authenticity of the trans identity. I feel like, one thing that I personally realized was that during my reign, a lot of trans individuals, they don't feel represented in the media. They don't feel like they're seen or heard because of the hyper feminization of trans women. But what about trans women like myself who are still in the early stages of the transition, who may not want to get surgeries or may not even want to go through with the hormones. So I feel like it's very important to showcase that authenticity, that representation. I feel like we're in a time where a lot of our youth, especially a lot of our youth, are wanting to live authentically without having to necessarily conform to society standards and feeling like they have to be quote unquote passable to be validated as a trans individual. And with that is what I hope to leave my legacy. So thank you so much, everyone for being here. Thank you, Tim, for inviting me and allowing me to share a little bit about myself and my story. And I just hope, that everyone is able to, take something away that, all trans and gender expansive identities are valid.
Absolutely. I greatly appreciate you joining us some more. So I want to make sure that in the spirit of congratulations, my founding house mother, Mother Raquel Valenciaga, was just crowned Miss Continental. And it's beautiful to see like those who have worked hard, as Amora was saying, the work starts a long time ago. And sometimes it may not look altogether the same for everyone, and everyone deserves the respect and the safety of existing and however they choose to form themselves. So I will pass it back to Moot to introduce our next speaker.
Thanks, Jennifer. And hello, V. Welcome. We're so excited to have you here with us to share some of your journey tonight, and to just kind of give some voiceover to who V is. She is an amazing woman who is doing all kinds of work on a lot of really important causes, from LGBTQIA rights to gender-based violence and femicide. She is based in Georgia, working for a nonprofit that primarily works to uplift the voices of women and refugees and immigrant women in particular. So with that, I want to pass it over to her to just share a little bit about her work, her experience, and some words that she'd like to share with us tonight. So V, I'm going to toss it to you.
Okay. Okay. Good evening, and thank you so much for this opportunity to talk on this Zoom call and this experience, and to just basically introduce myself. My full name is actually Vanessa Giovanni Rampa, even though V is just my short name that most of my friends call me. But I'm actually an immigrant originally from Africa. I came like by myself, like in my mid-teens, and I went through some serious like challenges just being an immigrant, and then also the whole transgender other layer to it. So, and I'm actually a survivor of gender-based violence, which is why I'm actually passionate about gender-based violence, both towards trans women and just regular women born female. And because I am aware of how it's a serious issue, especially in communities of color. And that's what I do. I'm an advocate, and I'm also part of the Georgia Women's Policy Institute. I've chosen to be part of this year's cohort of the Georgia Women's Policy Institute, and I'm part of that cohort, and basically to lobby behind legislation which actually improve the livelihood of women in general in the state of Georgia. And yes, and as far as the Amani Women's Center, even though it's not an LGBTQIA center, it's an LGBT safe space. It's more so for immigrant women, to empower immigrant women, but the staff has been very accepting of me, despite being different, being a transgender woman as opposed to just a regular woman. So I just would like to also say thank you to Ms. Doris Makongu, who's actually the president and the founder of the Amani Women's Center. And yes, thank you to the Amani Women's Center staff for accepting me and also being advocates and allies to the LGBTQIA plus community. So. I think that's about it as far as I am, like who I am. And yes, please. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you, V. Thank you for all the work that you're putting in. We're so happy to see, again, happening and coming to Georgia. That is what's necessary to rid the state of such a harsh reality as it pertains to trans individuals or anyone who identifies differently. It is a necessity to continue to push the envelope and make sure that all persons are seen, heard, felt, and able to enjoy life in the facets that they bring all their skills and talents to existing there. So next, we have Nat Esperanza.
I actually have some slides prepared if we could go to
Awesome. Awesome.
there. They should be in this.
Thank you for joining us, Nat.
Thank you for having me today. So I'm just gonna start. Gender is a story, not just a word. There are as many ways to be a woman as there are women. There are as many ways to be a man as there are men, and there are as many ways to be non-binary as there are non-binary people. Alok Vade Menon. Hello, and thank you for being here on this Trans Day of Remembrance. I'm Nat Esparza, he, she, they, a trans non-binary storyteller, author, and student at Georgia State University, where I'm training to become a multi-faith chaplain for queer, disabled, and neurodivergent communities. I'm also autistic, and storytelling is one of my deepest passions. Storytelling for me isn't just entertainment, it's understanding. I've spent years unraveling narratives, particularly those that defy traditional patterns like the hero with a thousand faces. Classic tales center on a lone hero bending the world to their will. But for many of us, especially trans, queer, disabled, and neurodivergent folks, our stories chart different paths. Alok Ved Menon reminds us that gender is also a story, unique to each of us. These stories shatter societal scripts, revealing the infinite ways to exist as women, men, or non-binary people. They create room for belonging, for seeing ourselves reflected, and for others to feel less alone. Yet today, these stories face unprecedented threats. Rising hostility and systemic erasure make sharing them more crucial than ever. Silence aids oppression, but our voices break it. Telling our stories is an act of resistance, a lifeline for us and for generations of trans and non-binary people to come. Storytelling isn't just expression, it's power. Every time we share our truths, we resist systems designed to erase us. We assert, I am here, I matter, my life is valuable. For trans people, our stories often begin with struggle, struggling to understand ourselves, to navigate unwelcome spaces, and to find safety. But our stories don't just end there. They are also about joy, the beauty of authenticity, the connections we forge, and the resilience we embody. Storytelling reclaims our humanity and lets the world see our full complexity. It transforms ignorance into understanding, fear into empathy, and it's deeply personal. Storytelling helps us process pain, honor triumphs, and embrace our wholeness. By sharing our stories, we heal, and in healing, we resist. You can go to the next slide. Oh, there you go. No, yep. This belief is at the heart of my upcoming podcast, Fierce Curiosity, launching in 2025. It's a space where bold questions meet authentic conversations, a platform for voices often silenced, queer, trans, disabled, and neurodivergent people. Each episode is unscripted, diving into identity, community, and the human experience. We tackle challenging topics with courage and empathy, uncovering truths that often go unspoken. But Fierce Curiosity isn't just about hard conversations, it's about celebration. It's about creating a space where vulnerability is strength and curiosity lights the way. As a storyteller, I believe every voice matters. As a chaplain in training, I strive to create safe spaces for those voices to thrive. This podcast will be one such space, a home for authenticity, resilience, and connection. And then next slide. Let's keep this momentum alive by sharing your story. If my words resonate, I'd love to connect, whether you'd like to be a guest on Fierce Curiosity, collaborate, or simply share your journey, scan the QR code or email me. Together, we can amplify our voices, celebrate our strength, and ensure our stories are heard. Thank you for being here today. Your presence is part of the collective storytelling that preserves our past, shapes our present, and secures our future. Thank you.
Thank you, Nat, for sharing with us and sharing those slides. Really appreciate all of the work that you're doing and everything that you bring to our community.
Absolutely.
We are going to break out into some small groups. We figured that, given the state of the world that we're in, both in the United States with the news of the election a few weeks ago, as well as just today, honoring and remembering those who have been lost to violence, we wanted to break out into some smaller rooms and allow everyone the opportunity to just process, share whatever's on your mind, anything that you need to. Anything that you can as it relates to care, connection, resilience. How are you finding community right now? How are you taking care of yourselves? What do you need? What would be helpful? And anything else that you want to share in a small group setting so that we can continue to uplift each other and our community. Jennifer, is there anything else you wanted to add to that?
No, not at all. I think that this is a very serious time to gather together. I spoke to some students at Ohio State University, and same movement. I think every space we step into that's specific about needing to find where to be at this time. If we can duck out and find some new people, please do. Bipartisan movement is going to be a necessity.
We'll be honoring some very special people to the Institute. These were board members that I joined the board with oh goodness, back in 2015. So it's been almost a decade. And so we wanted to honor those who actually made the Institute possible through their work and efforts, who are part of our trans community. And so I'll let Jennifer and Umut close us out.
Thank you, Timon. So as Timon mentioned, these four humans on the screen, our transcestors, are really foundational to who we are as an institute today. And I just want to give voice to two folks, and then Jennifer's going to give some voice to two members as well. And I'm going to talk a little bit about Errol and Holiday. And so E.R. Anderson is currently the executive director of the Cheris Circle, which is a nonprofit programming arm of Cheris Books and More, the South's oldest independent feminist bookstore. I think especially now, that's an incredibly important organization, incredibly important work that ER is doing. Under his leadership, they have been able to host more than 275 community and author events each year. Again, really incredible, really important work. He continues to support emerging and established writers, facilitate community education groups through writing and listening and just collaboration, which is incredibly important. He was also honored by the Human Rights Campaign with the Leon Allen and Winston Johnson Community Leadership Award back in 2014, and as representative of the Cheris Circle at Atlanta Pride in 2014. And I see you here on the screen, so I'll pass it to you if you want to say anything. But we're just really excited to have you as an inaugural board member.
Oh, thank you. It was my honor, and I'm so grateful to get to continue to be in Atlanta and support the work that the Institute is doing. I'm really excited about the youth focus, and always really glad that to hear what Tim M is doing. So I'm very proud of y'all and very, very, very fired up and engaged around fighting for our rights in the coming years, because we need each other and we got to get each other's back. So very honored to be here. Thank you.
Before we move on, I also just want to add and lift up the work that ER has been doing with Karis Books. I'm going to put a link in the chat. If you're in the Metro Atlanta area or visiting, stop by and see them. If you're not, instead of buying your books from Amazon, you can go to Karis online, order your books, and get them there. I think it's something that we really have to think about, how we spend our money and where we spend our money. And we want to support the communities and the people that support us. So I put that link in the chat. And then Umut, we can move on.
Great. Thank you. Thank you again, ER. So I will then talk a little bit about Holiday, who, Tim, if I'm correct, is Holiday with us tonight? I'm not sure that they are.
Yeah, Holiday isn't able to make it. So
Great.
we definitely want to acknowledge. And then what I can say is on the website, when you go to the website, which I'll put there, you can read the bios of each individual person on the website. So I'll make sure I drop that link in for people that might be interested in learning more about Holiday's work. But really fierce activist, creative, and wonderful person, and sends his regards for not being able to make our event tonight.
Excellent. Yeah, and just to voice over a little bit, Holiday is the Director of Community Education and Advocacy in the Southern Regional Office of Lambda Legal. I think many of you probably know who Lambda Legal is and what they do, but given what we're facing, I think the work that Lambda Legal does now is as important as it's ever been. They are the oldest and largest national legal organization committed to achieving full recognition of the civil rights of lesbians, gay, bisexual, trans people, and people living with HIV. So again, incredibly important work that is out there, but an important member of our community. With that, I'm going to toss it over to Jennifer, who can introduce our final two inaugural board members.
Awesome. If we could spotlight Tracy, please. Awesome. I love you, Tracy. So our next honoree is Tracy McDaniel, Atlanta Phoenix Award winner, Georgia House of Representative Resolution recipient, which I was very proud to do and have her at the state capitol and celebrate her. Former Atlanta Citizen Review Board chairwoman, certified peer counselor, published author, and transhuman civil rights advocate. Tracy McDaniel is motivated by a strong desire to ensure that all transgender, nonconforming, and non binary people also receive justice, civil, and human rights protections. Tracy was born and raised in South Carolina. She credits her strength and determination to her family's unconditional love and support throughout her life, which also enabled her to have stepped knee deep into advocacy for decades, I might add. Tracy established 501c3 tax exempt Juxtapose Center for Transformation, Inc. in 2007 to use as a vehicle for spreading the good news about transgender, nonconforming, and non binary people, while also celebrating our resiliency, being here since the beginning of time, existing in every country and on every continent inhabited by mankind. Tracy never apologizes for putting the T first, believing that human rights are trans rights are human rights, and our visibility saves lives. Tracy, please share a few words with the people and stand in the light of your celebration.
Thank you so much, my dear Jennifer. I want to say thank you to Jennifer, also to Umut, and Timum and the National Center for Civil and Human Rights Institute for honoring us this evening. So many of us aren't here. We're happy to be here to remember those that we've lost to violence and murders. And I want to say, before I go any further, say bravo and brava to our youth speakers, because that's the generation, that's the next generation that's going to make things better for us. And that's why I do what I do. I started organizing TDOR in 2007 until 2017. No one knows this, but I started organizing TDOR because of a racist encounter that I had at my very first TDOR that I attended here in Atlanta. So I wanted to make sure that nobody experienced what I experienced. And I just want to say, we have to celebrate. We have to be here. We're resilient. We've seen it all before. We know how to do what we need to do. We're survivors. And no matter what, we shall get through this also. So I want to say to everyone, like it was said earlier, get some support, ask someone for some help, and do what you have to do. I know I personally fast from all the bad news so that I can keep my mental state of mind together. So I just want to conclude by saying thank you so much for this humbling honor. And I'm so happy to be amongst the other honorees, E.R. Anderson, Miss Dee Dee Shambly, and Holiday Simmons. Congratulations to you all. And so thank you all so much.
We thank you, Tracy. We thank you. Can we please spotlight Dee Dee Shambly?
Hi, Lamar.
Hi. Okay, before I start, I have to say Dee Dee was a part of the reason why I was able to receive my name change here in Atlanta, Georgia. There was a house specifically that housed Miss Dee Dee's Legender. There was BT, and there was also Snapco, all in the same building, which was beautiful to see in beginning of the work that I was doing in, what was that, 2014, 2013, 2014, with us traveling together to Cleveland. So Miss Dee Dee has been a pillar in my work specifically. So Ms. Dee Dee Shambly is the founder and executive director of Legender, Inc., an advocacy organization and resource group for trans women of color. A survivor of HIV, Dee Dee has been a tireless advocate, helping create a safer, healthier world for transgender Atlantans and Georgians. In 2019, she received the Atlanta Phoenix Award from Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms and became the first Black trans woman invited to the White House, where President Barack Obama named her a champion of change for her activism. Dee Dee Chambly is included in the Out Down South exhibition at the Center for Change and is featured in the first episode of the ATL LGBTQ History Project Out Down South podcast, which can be found at AtlantaLGBTQHistoryProject.org. If we could pin that into the chat, please, Tim M. Dee Dee has been on the LGBTQ Institute board at the National Center for Civil and Human Rights since its inception in 2015. Please, Miss Dee Dee, share some knowledge, wisdom with the people. You know, we've been waiting to hear from you. I'm so glad to see you.
Well, first of all, thanks to God, my father, who made it possible for me to still be here to talk to the young'uns and the cousins and everybody who are enjoying some of the benefits of the labor that Legenda Inc. and our group of women put in, such as Tracy Daniel, Jakesha Elder, um, uh, uh, um, you know, my memory deceives me. But Lisa Kitchen, Cece, Pearl Styles, Cleopatra McLaughlin, Keek, Coco Hendricks, and other host of girls that helped us on the front lines to open the doors here in Atlanta and across the country. Because at the time the gender was started, it wasn't very popular to be a Black trans woman. If you were Black and trans, you went to jail, literally. And how many times I rode in the back seat of the police car, how many times my life came within inches of being taken out, not only by the APD, but by people. I could have easily been on this list of names several times over from different acts of violence, not including HIV and AIDS, which has ravaged my body. My body has been a sacrifice for the medications that they have today, and I can't even take them. But my life has been a sacrifice for my community and my children and my sisters. I did not want to see anybody go through the hurt and disrespect and pain that I suffered. And I walked into many, many rooms where I was the only one. And the whole room would turn around and look at me in disgust. We don't want to hear nothing from a man in a dress. What you doing in here? You ain't even human. Those were the demons that we faced back then and the ones that we face today. So to my children, stop eating on each other. Keep honoring and uplifting each other. And be all that you can be. I mean, you have more to work with than I did when I started out. So I am expecting to see great and wonderful things from you children, or my living will be in vain. Hallelujah. A little more.
We love and appreciate you so much, Miss Dee Dee. Not many have such an honorable spirit anymore, sacrificial spirit, unselfish spirit. And every time you come within presence of speaking, it is something to be reflected upon. So we thank you and all of our honorees this year for being in attendance. I know it is increasingly hard year after year, decade after decade for some to continue to see steps forward and then the pushback continuously of efforts that are never going to stop. Trans people, as the Honorable Tracy McDaniel has pointed out, have been here since the beginning of time. The play with gender has always been in motion. There's always been other and alternative movements. Please keep that in your back pocket when faced with adversity. You are meant to be here. You are meant to do whatever you're on path to doing. There will be continuous hurdles. There will be continuous haters. And it is imperative that you stay course. Please make sure to scan the QR code for a short survey that is given at this time. We really appreciate your feedback. It moves the programming, helps us to make sure that people are in constant understanding of what's needed, what's working for our community. Mood, do you have any final words for the people?
Yes, thank you, Jennifer. I just want to say to everyone, thanks for joining. I know tonight is a way of honoring those who've come before us, those who we've lost along the way. And I read a quote once, specifically around today, that I thought was really important. And I just wanted to share that with you all. And it said, "In the face of loss, we rise in love and remembrance. Every life, every story is a testament to the courage and the beauty of the trans community." And so, as I think about who we are and who we are going to continue to be in spite of violence, in spite of hate, please continue to honor yourselves, your friends, our community, and lift up our voices, because our voices matter. Your voice matters. We matter. So thank you all for being here. Continue to hold light, continue to shine on others, and continue to be the pillar that our youth need. It is not for us today, it is for them tomorrow. So continue to carry on, and just let's continue to celebrate life.